Before we jump into today's video, I'd like to give a shout out and a massive thank you to my wonderful Patreons who help make videos like this possible through their generous signing up through my various tiers. And if you'd like to see your name here and get some more benefits, I'm going to leave a link down below in the description bar and up over in the iCards if you'd like to sign up to my Patreon. So today we're going to be doing some paper testing. I'm going to be testing out the hot pressed cotton paper from Winsor & Newton, and I'm also going to be testing out the caddy paper and comparing it to indigo watercolour paper that was very kindly sent to me by Boxapaint. I'm going to leave a link down in the description bar to Boxapaint's pages. I really recommend go checking him out. He's a really cool artist and does some really nice stuff over on his Instagram page. And he also makes some handmade paints as well. So I'm going to leave links down to his web shop and bits. So make sure you go check them out. It's really worth checking out. So I'm doing the basic tests here on all the papers. I'm doing masking fluid tests, I'm doing wash tests, glazing tests, dispersion tests, lifting tests, and every test I can think of to really give these papers a good run through. I'm also, as well, with the caddy paper and indigo paper, going to do a painting demonstration on them, just to see how they behave while actually being painted on. So that'll be interesting to see how they are. But yeah, let's continue with the test and see how we get on. So I'm now going to start the painting demonstrations on both the caddy paper and the indigo paper. The indigo paper will be on the left hand side with red illustration, and the caddy paper will be on the right hand side with blue illustration. And the reason I decided to do a painting demo was just to really give the paper a good test. It's one thing to do all these tests on papers and a completely different thing to actually do painting on them. You know, an actual painting, you get to use plenty of layers, different techniques and different colour combinations, so it will really show what it's like to actually use. So it's really important to do this. I will do a separate one at another time on some Winsor & Newton paper to give that a full test, but seeing that's a very high quality paper and a very high price tag on it, I'm assuming that should be good paper. the Caddy and Indigo papers are cotton papers, but they are rougher papers and they're a little bit more affordable compared to a lot of cotton paper brands out there. I would say this is very good sketchbook paper, but I would go careful using it on too many finished illustrations, particularly if you're looking for a very smooth look, as we were going to see as we go through the painting demo. You can see there that both papers are prone to some lifting and have some texture issues and a couple of sort of errors, I guess, within the paper. There are a couple of rough bits of paper that might be sized a little bit harder or not so sized so hardly. These are handmade papers, so we're going to expect that. I will leave links down below in the description bar where you can get all the papers and materials that we're using in today's video if you would like to try them out. Like I said, the Caddy paper and the Indigo paper is a lot more affordable than the Winsor & Newton one, so if you're just getting started off with cotton papers, I can really recommend trying out one of those two. So now that everything's all dry, we're going to remove the masking tape, and we're going to have a good look at all the papers and all the testing that we've done, just to give some final thoughts and to give some feedback whether I enjoyed the papers or not. So first off, we've got the caddy paper here. I've used this previously and I tend to use it for sketchbook or sketch work. I find it pretty good for that. The colours do look pretty nice on it, but it does have some lifting issues, so you can't do too many layers on the paper. I found the same with the indigo paper. However, I felt that the colours did look a little bit better on the indigo paper, and but I did, however, find it took a couple of layers to get the paint to be smooth. There's a little bit of rough edges here and there. It improved with more layers I put on it, which is a little bit problematic as it does tend to lift if you put too many layers on, so it's finding that balance. And here are, of course, the test papers that we did with the tests. So you can see there from the lifting test, they're both highly lifting. Neither of them did very well with masking fluid, so I would recommend avoiding masking fluid. And you can see there on the swatch test, the gradated wash, the colour does look a little bit brighter and more saturated on the indigo paper there on the right hand side. And then with the mark test, you can see what I'm talking about there on the right hand side with the indigo paper. It looks like it's not quite taken to the paper as well as the caddy paper, so I'm assuming it's slightly harder sized, but then it does glaze a little bit better, I feel, than the caddy paper. So swings and roundabouts for both papers. I would say kind of go with whichever one you can get hold of if you want to try one of these, because they're both kind of similar to each other. I will also leave a scan of all the stuff in today's video up on my Patreon page too, so if you want to see these in a closer look at detail, you can do. And now we're going to move on to the Winsor & Newton paper and have a little bit more of a closer look on that one. And as expected, the Winsor & Newton paper did very well in everything. It took very well to masking fluid, so you can use masking fluid with this paper. The gradated wash looks very nice. Lifting, it did lift quite a bit, but not completely back to white, not as well as the caddy or the indigo papers. And of course, as expected, the glazing and layering test is the best. It can take many layers and glazing, which it should do being a cotton paper of this price range, as it's not cheap. But yeah, this kind of is the kind of final look, and this is how we are with the papers. I can recommend so far any of the papers in this video. They're really nice papers. Do keep in mind what you're using them for. Like I said, the caddy and indigo papers are very nice, but if you do a lot of detail work, you might struggle to get that detail in on them, and you'll get this on the Winsor & Newton paper where you can have a lot of detail. However, there is a higher price point. I think for the price point of both the caddy and indigo papers, they make great and excellent papers to start with if you're looking to get into cotton papers, and I think they're great affordable options, particularly if you're looking for sketchbook work. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys, and let me know in the comments what you think, and if you tried any of these papers and if you like them or not. So, okay guys, bye.